What's up, guys? Jake Codeweiss with Musician on a Mission. We've got another video for you today from our partners over at mastering.com. Let's dive right in.
Hello friends, Dane here with mastering.com. Want to welcome you to the channel if you're new, and if you're returning, thank you for your continued support. Today we're going to get back into the DAW and demonstrate why the SSL G Bus Compressor works so well with transient heavy music, specifically pop and hip hop type genres. And I think it'll be fun to demonstrate the difference between that VCA style compressor and a standard Logic digital compressor. Then compare the Waves versus the Logic version of that same compressor, and then drill down further to show why I landed on the particular settings that worked best. So before we get in, let's go ahead and roll that intro. Let me just say that understanding the various parameters and what they do in theory is only going to take you so far. Therefore, I really can't stress enough that you do everything in your power to take time on a regular basis to train your ears to hear different compression settings so that you can truly apply this tool in any situation and achieve the sound that you're going for. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content, and hit the notification bell if you want to continue to be notified whenever new content is dropped. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. Jumping into this Logic session here, I have a track. It's by an artist named E.J. Michaels, a really talented singer-songwriter, amazing singer, talented musician. He had my production partner and I, Caleb, do a remix of this track. Originally, it was more of a kind of a slower ballady type track with a slow build throughout. Just injected some EDM, kind of hip hop, beat elements to it, and gave it, that more kind of electronic feel. So the point of bringing all four of these compressors here is to demonstrate and point out sonically what's happening when I go from compressor to compressor, okay? Because it's not enough for me to just point out and say, oh, I like the Waves SSL version, with a slow attack and a fast release, and I like that much better than the SSL, Logic version of the SSL compressor or the stock compressor, blah, blah, blah. That's not enough to just say that. If you want to really own this skill of being able to hear compression, you need to hear how sonically things change when we jump between settings or between compressors. So that's my hope here. So first, let's go ahead and play a section of the song where it kind of starts to really build. We'll start with this compressor with these settings: slow attack, fastest release, lowest ratio, and just kind of get an idea of how that sounds so we can use that to compare to these others. So we'll go ahead and play this.
'Cause all I think about is you. All I think about is you. 'Cause all I'm thinking about is you.
Okay, and let's go over to Logic's version of the same type of compressor with the same settings. And I've gain matched these as much as I possibly could.
'Cause all I think about is you. All I think about is you. 'Cause all I'm thinking about is you. All I think.
Okay, I'm not going to comment yet. Okay, and then I'm going to go to this like standard Logic stock compressor. Let's listen. Same settings.
'Cause all I think about is you. All I think about is you. 'Cause all I'm thinking about is you.
Here's what I hear, and then I'm going to play them again to show you. What I hear is what the G Bus Compressor is best known for, which is sort of glue. Like it's gluing, and I know that's probably an overly used term, but it's a term that works because There's a cohesion of the elements. We have a really heavy kick coming through on top of all the music without that pumping effect. So listen to, if I play what I settled on here, and I'm going to jump back from there and then go to the standard Logic stock compressor. What I want you to listen for is the sort of like pumping effect that is happening whenever the kick hits, the pumping effect with the music when I use the standard Logic compressor. So here's the Waves SSL.
'Cause all I think about is you. All I think about is you. 'Cause all I think,
Okay, Logic.
'cause all I think about is you. All I think about is you. 'Cause all I'm thinking about is you.
I'm not going to sit here and say right or wrong. All I'm going to say is that they're different, and I prefer to hear less of that pumping effect that is caused by this particular stock compressor. Now, if I jump to this one, it's a little less noticeable, but still there's a certain cohesion for whatever reason that I'm getting out of the Waves version than I'm getting out of the Logic version of the SSL compressor. Let's jump between these two. Starting with Logic.
'Cause all I think about is you. All I think about is you. 'Cause all I'm thinking about is you.
Okay, now the Waves SSL.
'Cause all I think about is you. All I think about is you. 'Cause all
I don't know. Somehow it feels like they are a part of the. So it's the idea of like karaoke, right? Like in a vocal, if the vocal doesn't glue itself well enough to, to a track using the right compression settings, it'll sound karaoke-ish. Meaning, if you have too much fluctuation in that vocals like levels, it's gonna sound like karaoke, right? Versus like a singer blending really well with the band. The kick is sort of acting as the same thing here because this is a remix. The emphasis is on like, let's punch people in the face with the kick. And so, but I still want that to gel somehow with the music, and that's why I chose this Waves version over the others. Let's go now between the two SSL compressors, both by Waves, same exact compressor, and do different compression settings. So here is what I settled on, which is the slowest attack, fastest release. And then we have the same ratio, but fastest attack and slowest release. So let's listen to that really quick.
'cause all I think about is you. All I think about is you. 'Cause all I'm thinking about is you. All
I mean, for one, we're getting a little bit more gain reduction here, just because like in the threshold, we had to put it all the way down because that attack is grabbing that transient right away, and therefore it's doing a little bit more compression. But the release of it, pay attention to the release when I go between these two. So hear that again.
'Cause all I think about
Particularly how the release interacts with the music, how the music is sort of like pumped with the kick.
'Cause all I think about is you. All I think about is you.
Then go to this one.
'Cause all I think about is you. All I think about is you.
It's still, it's still ducking a little bit, but it's just like quicker and it's in a way that is more transparent to me and kind of glued together. So hopefully that helps. Go back and forth and listen to these differences over and over again until you feel like you can hear it. Because that's really going to be what helps you kind of utilize this tool for your own productions and your own music. To wrap this up, I want to remind you of something important. If you're having a hard time hearing the subtle differences that I'm demonstrating in these examples, then it simply means that you need to train your ears to be more sensitive to these changes. But it's also important to know what to listen for so your training is effective. Don't get too frustrated because every single engineer has gone through this period of training. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm still trying to improve my ability to hear compression as well. In the end, don't overthink the settings. Use them as a guide for your training so that you can start to internalize how compression settings will affect your masters and mixes sonically. That way you can achieve any sound that you have in your head. A slower attack means that you'll be letting more transient information through before the compressor starts lowering the transient. A faster attack means that it might make your drums less impactful because you're lowering the front end punch of the kick and snare. But that might not always be the case depending on the mix and production you're dealing with. This is why it's so important to use your ears and make sure your moves are achieving your desired sound. If you're someone that twists the compression knobs until something sticks, you'll end up taking more time than you should to finish your masters, and your results will be inconsistent at best. At mastering.com, we help mentor and coach our students for life to help them become absolute professionals with how they use compression, EQ, and every other tool in the mastering process. This will help you finish more music in less time at a higher quality. Feel free to book a call with us by using the link in the description below, and we'll see if it's a fit to provide you with this level of training and mentorship. It's not always a fit, and that's okay. When it is, lives are changed. That's all for now. Happy mastering, mixing, and better music making. Peace.